Okay YouTubers, so I've got a small selection of new parts here. New upper ball joint, new lower ball joint, which is the XJ40 style one piece design, which is much better than the original for this car, and the tyre rod end. As you can see, that tyre rod end is well and truly fucked. Might still be tight, but it's been open to the environment too long. That upper ball joint's been replaced by the look of it pretty recently. It looks brand new actually. The bottom one's just absolutely pooched. But the set for full upper and lowers were 40, for upper and lower on both sides was £40, plus I think another, I don't know, £20 postage out to Australia. So I thought, well, might as well just fucking do it. I mean, really, these exact ball joints, if you went down to Jag Air or Jag Dame or any of those joints, you get the exact same thing. You just pay $400 for it. You know, like the quality of these is pretty damn good. I'm quite impressed with them for cheap parts, but I mean, they're UK made. The little bag they come out of, I'll go and find the bags, although I think I threw them in the bin, but they were a decent brand. So anyway, I've got the tools and the heaters going there, so that's always good, keeping us warm in here. Did have the radio going, but faggy little One Direction was on, so I turned it off then. And I suppose I meant to have it off for YouTube, but anyway. So first I'll take the hub off, because I've got to do the discs anyway. So take the hub off, then you take the dust shields off, and you can get to the lower ball joint. Taking the two bolts, hold the dust covers on the bottom. There's one that goes up in there that holds this, whatever the fuck you want to call it, that connects the kingpin to the tyre rod end. Goes in there like that. Taking that top bolt out allows you to take the rest of the shielding and the brake caliper, or the brake line bracket off. Loosen that bolt there, so now if we slam fuck out of this, top ball joint should pop off. There we go. Now got the top out. Just rebalance our lighting here. Just pain in the ass. That'll do. Now we'll loosen the big nut on the bottom ball joint. Top ball joint had a 3/4 inch. Had 3/4 inch nut there. Now I've found some bolts on here is metric, some are imperial. This one feels like it's metric, which is funny. And it is. It's a 22mm. So I'll just loosen this off. And that was not tight at all. Alright. Should go and get something to kneel on, really. Alright. Now, take this one off. This ball joint here feels, it's pretty good though. It's a little bit loose, the top one, but it's not that old, that's for sure. That's interesting, they got the two shims on that side. I'm going to have to, I know that you can adjust all the caster. I think is it the caster you adjust with those shims? I don't know. Anyway, I'll go and read in the book. I'll just slap it back together for now and adjust it once I've got it all back together, but doesn't want to have any of that. That bottom ball joint is absolutely fucked. I reckon if you reefed hard enough like that, you'd pop it out. Alright, I'll get that off. No, and just took a couple of blows down on the top of the thread there. You shouldn't really blow down on that, because you can end up burring the top over and then it won't fit back through the hole, but a couple of blows won't hurt. Now this looks like an original piece one. Ones that are in a couple of bits. Well, that's pretty fucked seal, but it's not too bad. It's not notchy. No, I'll replace it anyway. So I'll take those off. They look like 1/2-inch bolts. Okay, so I loosened the bolts out. Funny thing was, one was 1/2-inch, the rest were 13mm. So who knows what's going on there? It's quite puzzling. Every second bolt I go to turn on this car is metric. Every other bolt's imperial. So who knows? Where the British Leyland used half metric, half imperial bolts, like a lot of the, not so much here, most of this here is imperial, but when you go and start turning other things, some things turn into metric, so who knows, it's a bit kooky, but anyway. So this is the old ball joint, the old style, which there's you got your bottom socket here, which I think is removable. Maybe not in this one, but you got some shims in there that you use to shim it out. There's one, there's a couple. So you shim it until it's nice and tight, but not too tight, using the shims. And then as it wears, you're not meant to take shims out. You're not meant to adjust for wear with the shims, but I know a lot of people do. And there's just another bit of a socket up in here, so we'll punch that bit of socket out. I'll just get the screwdriver and the hammer, and it should just, or actually I'll just try, see if it'll just fall out. Don't think that's really moving, so I'll get big screwdriver, wherever that's gone, there it is, and I'll just give him a tap there, tap there, tap there, tap it out. Upon closer inspection, I realised that you drive it down, so I just tapped it down with the hammer and tapped it out because it's got that little flange. I figured that you'd have to, immediately after I said it, I figured that you'd have to tap it that way because it sits, when you got your ball joint assembly together, it pushes it up against the flange and keeps it in there. So now you can see quite a big difference between this system here and that completely sealed system there. So I'll get the wire brush, I'll just wire brush all this up, clean this up and give it a quick lick of paint, just to make it look a bit better from the sake of the roadworthy inspector. I mean, I'm just cleaning everything up here so you can see work's being done, so it looks all nice and neat. Because I mean, you might put new ball joints in, but if it still looks dirty and like shit, then you might, it's not as inviting as if it looks all nice and clean. Now, these top ones, I'll just use to undo these bolts. Yeah. Now I'll have to go and have a look at my book and work out why those shims are like that, but they look to be about the same size anyway, so I might just I'll leave the shims exactly where they are for now, as I did on the other side, and we'll work that out later. I'd say it's something to do with the wheel alignment, so I'll let the wheel alignment guys sort that out though. I'll just reinstall it the way it was. Really, that ball joint's in pretty good nick. It doesn't need doing, but it's a little bit loose, but it's not bad. So, but I'd rather just do them and see them done anyway. So I'll get the wire brush and clean all this up too. It's all cleaned and painted there. I just put a coat over these arms here just to make them look a bit more respectable. I mean, I know they're only going to get dirty again and it's only going to, turn to shit again, but really it just makes it a little bit cleaner, look a little bit better. So now this ball joint, take note of your shims. I'll have to go and look up in the book whether it wants me to reset the shims or what it wants done, but we'll just put them back in exactly how we took them out with this one. Alright, referring to the book here, it just says take careful note of the shims and put them back exactly where they came from, which is exactly what I was going to do, because they do control the camber or caster or something. So anyway, I'll put them back in. Can't really show it on camera, so I'll just thread the bolt through, the first bolt. So there we go, the first bolt's through. I suppose I'll show you the arms here. I tightened up those bolts at the back there, and they have absolutely bugger. I mean, they have a little bit inwards, but that bolt, once they're clamped inwards, there's absolutely no movement in them, so I'm quite happy with that. So we'll stick these shims back in. There we go. Bring them down and put the next bolt through. Okay, so now I'm on the way to Bunnings, which is probably the biggest hardware chain in the country. Probably one of the biggest actual retail stores, really. Or most profiting anyway, because there's a lot of DIY freaks around here. But anyway, just going to go and get. I want to replace those bolts that hold the lower ball joints in with some new high tensile ones, because I snapped one on the other side last night, and I want to replace the nylocks that hold the top of the top ball joints in. So, and I'll have a look at what sort of spring washers I can get for the bottoms. But really, I don't like using spring washers in those sort of situations, because as soon as you get a bit of pressure on them, they just split open anyway. And they're as good as useless in that situation, but still. Anyway, it's not often I drive the new car, but I thought today I might as well. But anyway, get sick of driving Magna after a while. We've got low petrol, that's always good. But that's always the deal in my cars. I never bother, or I never have enough money to fill them up properly, so anyway. We'll get these bolts and resume. Alright, so I ended up all the way in Frankston, or Seaford actually, which is about 30k from here, just to get frickin' nylocks. Nowhere. There was plenty of places that sold 3/8 UNC, but none that sold 3/8 UNF. So I got them anyway. I got the high tensile bolts I needed for the bottom ball joints, and some rigid edge washers, which apparently, what actually happens, is you can see they're like two halves. They got little barbs on them, so when you do them up, the barbs click over each other and it locks it in place, and because they're sort of serrated on the outside, it can't spin. So apparently they'll never come undone. They're better than nylocks, they're better than everything. So anyway, these XJ40 ball joints just fit straight in, as you can see. So we just need to put our little washers on. Now those bolts are going to be a bit long, aren't they? But no, it doesn't. I might just cut them down, but we'll soon find out just how long they are. Because that's what come out. I just bought what come out, which was inch long, which I should have really probably bought smaller, but then that would have been too small. It's going to be a fair bit. Oh, it might be alright. I'll chase one in and we'll see how they look. Those bolts are slightly long, but I can't see it causing any real problem. Apart from when you go to take them out again, they might be a bit rusty on the ends and might not come out particularly well, but well. So I did buy spring washers for the top, but spring washers, when you get a bit of tension on them, they only lock up anyway. Well, they only split anyway and they fall out. So nylocks are new nylocks. I wouldn't recommend reusing the nylocks and this sort of thing, because once they've been used once or twice, they're really fucked, and the chances are that this has been on and off about 1,000 times before. So anyway, we'll just nip them up. I shouldn't think, as long as all the shims and everything is in there nice. Make sure you don't have dirt and shit in between the shims and all that sort of shit, because A, it'll affect how far shimmed it is, which isn't really going to matter that much, but B, once the dirt grinds and slips out, the tension, you lose a bit of tension, so that's not good. I probably should find some washers to put behind them as well, even though they didn't originally have them, but we'll just nip them up anyway. Up. Now comes the fun part, getting it all back in, which I think, from memory, I have to jack the bottom up to get it back in. Get the top one in. So now, one thing I want to check is that those aren't going to rub. The boot's not going to rub on those bolts, but bottom in first. Then find one of your washers. Now, I think the top one, there must be another washer around somewhere, but anyway, try and keep your dirt, clean the dirt off them, because it does make a difference. Is there any difference between these nuts? No, there's not. There is on the old ones, so anyway, we'll do that up, which should be 22 mil. I don't know whether the new ones should be metric. I'd imagine they're metric. Anyway, I'll get that done up. The top ball joint, and you have to place your jack under the lower wishbone, but don't place it under the ball joint, place it under the wishbone. You jack her up, then you can squeeze it in. If when you're doing up your nylock, the joint starts spinning, you can jack it up until it's sitting in there so that all the pressure's off the bump stops. Just give it the slightest of a tap. I wouldn't give it too much of a tap, just to ram it into the taper. Not much though, because you don't want to destroy your socket. Only a very light tap. Then do her all up. So now she's all nice and tight. Remember to do up the bottom bolts. Now we just thread our tie rod on, which, now if you don't stuff around with the I just remembered I should have got another bolt. There's another bolt. If you don't stuff around with the nut, you can just loosen that off. Make sure they're the same length that the tie rod ends in this case, but this one looks a little bit longer, but it needs a wheel alignment anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Yeah, that one's longer. So you'd have to get a wheel alignment after doing all this anyway, and adjust your cast spring camber and all that shit, just for the sake of having it done, because this is going to have a pretty big toe out now, seeing as that one's slightly longer, but I'll get that fixed. I just remembered there's another bolt I was meant to get, but anyway, that was only that's the bolt that goes back into the caliper plate there, because it's got a slight bend in it. Fuck only knows why, but people do weird things. Where is it? It's around somewhere anyway. It's pretty bent, the poor old bolt, so I might go now and get a replacement of that actually, just for the sake of getting the job done, but it's all nice and tight. So once you put this, it's the bolt that bolts this fork onto the top there, and that goes in your ball joint. I mean, now the job's basically finished. We'll let the pressure off the jack, and you'll see it'll take up on the bump stops. There you go. So that's all the ball joints and everything done now. I mean, that's actually quite tight, but nothing's binding, so it's just new ball joints, isn't it? So anyway, there you go. The finished product over here. So I still need to replace those nylocks, but I replaced the other ones under here. Put the new Rigid washers on, but it all looks pretty nice and clean. You can tell it's been worked on. That's exactly the look I want. I mean, these when you let them down onto the bump stops, they actually lock up, so you can't turn them. So you got to jack a bit of pressure up before you can turn them. But when you jack a bit of pressure up on them, it's all nice and it turns really nice and smooth. So I'm quite happy with it. I'll just have to buy those new bolts, put it back together, and then I can rebuild the calipers. But it's had all new stub axles on it, and new wheel bearings just recently, so that's a good thing. But anyway, there you go. I mean, the old ball joints, you can see that one's just been done. It's an original though, the other ones are XJ40s, so there's no real difference really, except in the way these actually physically look. You can see the XJ40 ones are machined square, or not quite square, but they're more, well no, actually that looks original because it's got a grease nipple. Who knows, that's not original, that's original. I don't know, anyway. In any case, there's an XJ40 lower, just exactly the same as what we put in. This one's only brand new too, so anyway, it's not as good quality, you can tell just by the machining on it. It's nowhere near the quality of the ones I had, so the ones I bought. It's currently got a pile of horse rugs on the bonnet. Stuff from getting wet, they're out in the horseflake leaks. So anyway, yeah, she'll be on the road soon. Otherwise, there's not much really to do in here. It's all back together. It's all been cleaned properly. I took the stereo out. Couldn't put it back in. But otherwise, good cut and polish. Assemble the front brakes again. Bleed the rear brakes. And then there's this guard that I need to do actually before I go to get registered, because I'm sure they won't give me roadworthy with that. So I'll have to. I've got another one up there. I just got to weld the bottom back into. So once I rebuild that guard, get that painted, slap that on, slap the brakes back together, she'll be ready to go. So anyway, there you go. Thanks for watching.